Yo, 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 what is up, my fallopian tubers? Cesario from the barrio coming back at you with another video for your butt. Now, man, I've been debating making this video for a while. It got brought on by listening to a song on my way home. And I've been home for a while, drinking and smoking. And I think I finally reached the level where I say, I'm just going to talk about it. I've talked about it before, but I don't think I've talked about it as a whole like I was thinking about today. Cerveza. You know what they say, liquid balls. Liquid balls. Liquid balls. All right. This also has to do with the live stream I did on Four Collectors a couple days ago with Tom Petty and the Card Breakers and Lou Rock. Kind of discussed this, which is my Grail card. All right. And why it's my Grail card and why it means so much. And at the time, I think I was kind of hoping to be able to tell the whole story, but there was so many questions and the live stream was going on so good, I didn't get a chance to do it. But right now, I think I'm just gonna talk about it. It's about my Grail card, and my Grail card, um, that was my Grail card, and I have is my '83 Tops traded Daryl Strawberry. And you gotta understand too that as a collector, my dream card, my Grail card, which is 80, it's not like, oh, if I see another 83 Tops traded Daryl Strawberry, like, oh, I'm gonna buy it. That's my Grail card. The one that I own is my Grail card. Like, I don't want to own, and I actually do have another one because I do, I have, I like buying the box set, so I have the 83 Tops right there, and it has Daryl Strawberry 83 up Tops traded. And that one I don't really pay it no mind. It's the one in my binder, the one that I acquired. I call it chasing the dragon. When it comes to collecting, that's like a term that they use in drugs. Like a lot of times when the people use a drug for the first time you ever do it, your first hit, you get sent to heaven, you get that first experience. And a lot of people get hooked chasing the dragon, which means trying to get that feeling again when you did it the very first time, and you'll never achieve it. You'll never achieve it. There's nothing like the first time when it was a mystery, when it was an unknown. So that's what I call my Daryl Strawberry is like chasing the dragon. I came to terms a long time ago that I will never experience that again. I don't even think if I get a 52 Tops Mickey Mantle, I don't think I'll have that same ecstasy, that same thrill as the one I got my 83 Tops Strawberry. And like I said, I'm drunk people and high, so I might just ramble on, sing my song. But I was thinking about it because on my way home, there was a song called Go Away by Snoop Dogg that I really love. And a lot of times I would play it in my car and I'd say, oh, this song is the jam and it's so awesome. And everybody will always say, like, it's a cool song. It ain't all that. Like, it's not the best song ever. But to me, what it was is I used to have these, what are they called? Like free flow speakers or something. Like, I do have these 12s in the back of my Honda Accord. And because when I was living in Kansas or Kentucky, the law over there says you couldn't have a box at that time. You couldn't have your speakers in a box. That was illegal. So we had these free flow boxes that were just on plywood, but no box. So it was free flowing. It had no box at all. And when I came back to California, I wanted to get a box because in the boxes do sound better. So I went to an old friend from high school who owned a stereo shop. And so I had I had stolen a stereo, a whole radio, and and back then we had pullouts, and with the pullout you still needed the harness. So I went to him, and he ordered me the harness for cheap at price because it's expensive, like the prices they would sell it to the public. But he offered me the price that he would pay for it as a as a business, a stereo business. So I got the harness and I put my speakers in a giant box. Back then I was what you would call a bass monkey now. And so while his employees were putting it in, we went to his car and he rolled the joint. And then when my car was ready, we went to my car and we smoked a joint of some Kush called Church. It was called Church. And so he brought his CD to my car and he put it on, and the song Go Away came on. Man, this Church Kush, this is like when Kush was like brand new. Like Kush just came on the market and started getting its it first started getting its names, because at first it was just Kush. Every Kush bud you bought was just called Kush. And then they started getting names like the strains. So we got the strain called Church. And so we were smoking and he put in a CD and he put on that song Go Away. And because we were smoking Church, it was called Church, and the song Go Away sounded like they were in church, kind of had like a little chorus, like a church chorus. I was so into it. I was so into the moment, the song, and we were listening to my brand new stereo and speakers. Well, the box and the speakers, the bass was just, and dude, my car, my stereo system sounded so badass, and that song was just hitting. You know what I mean? Because we were smoking Church Kush, and the song to me is like, oh, this sounds like a church, like we're in a church. And so I love that song. That song has that nostalgia. When I listen to the song, I always, and it's like Chasing the Dragon. There's so many things that came into play that made that moment perfect. Why I love that song so much. And I guess what I'm getting to, it's kind of the same thing with my 83 Tops traded Daryl Strawberry, that particular one. Everything that came together for me to buy that card. And so you guys heard this story about when I was working at a liquor store and we got robbed. And I was in high school. I was on a, what is that called, a student permit to work. So I was either like 15 or 16, and I used to work at this liquor store as a box boy. And so we were about to close down. I used to buy my baseball cards there before I turned 15 or 16, whatever the age had to be. And the guy told me to offer me a job there. And actually, before I got my worker's permit, I worked there under the table. But then, which kind of sucked because he didn't charge me, he didn't tax me when he would pay me. But then, when I got my worker's permit from school, high school, I had to get like a legit check and tax me. So I learned at a very early age what taxes were, and like how much, you know, the cost of living in the U.S. was, like the amount that they would tax you. So no big deal, you know what I mean? It is what it is. I never made a big stink about it. I was like, oh, okay. And so we would close, and I was getting 4.25 an hour. That was the minimum wage, and I could only work like 15, 16 hours a week because I was in high school. That's what the workers permit allowed. So I wasn't making a lot of money, but uh, this was like in 89 or 90, man, when I wanted that Daryl Strawberry card so bad, like so bad, and it was my Grail card, my dream card. I don't want that was if I could have any card in the world, it would be the 83 Tops traded Daryl Strawberry. He was my man, my guy in Little League and high school. I mimicked his swing, which coaches hated. But it's like, this dude is like the best player in baseball right now. How could you hate his swing? Because it was so, not fundamental or whatever you want to say. It's like it's crazy. Like in baseball, they don't teach you to swing like Ted Williams. They don't teach you to swing like Babe Ruth. They don't teach you to swing like Willie Mays, the best players ever. They say they have the best technique that there is on earth now. But anyways, I wanted this card so bad. And this one weekend when I got it, I just didn't see it coming. Like everything came together for that to happen. So I was working at the liquor store and we were about to close. We were closed like at 10 or whatever time. And it was like 9:55, whatever. And I'm playing Miss Pac-Man, waiting for 5 more minutes to close the door, to lock the door. I had the keys to lock the door. And I had to wait like 5 minutes. So I was playing Miss Pac-Man, which Super Miss Pac-Man, which was my game and still is. So as I'm playing, these two like white guy bikers, gangster white guy bikers, which I had only seen in the movies. You know what I mean? Like I expected that if we ever got robbed, it was gonna be some Mexicans, cause, or maybe some black dudes from the other gangs around our neighborhood, not my neighborhood, but surrounding cities, because I expected to be robbed by gangsters, and I never ever thought that we would get robbed by white gangsters, like bike guys or whatever you want to call it. Because my city at that time was like 90%. Like my high school was like 90% Mexican and a few Asians and African Americans, very few. So it just wasn't something I pictured. To me, I just always thought we're gonna be robbed by the neighborhood gangs around here, and no, it was like these two white guys, like biker dudes, come in wearing their bandanas. And so one dude comes up to me right away as he came in the door. Now the video games were by the door, and he just puts a sawed-off shotgun to my head, and he just tells me to turn around and walk towards the counter. And the other dude, he beelines it to the counter, So and it's just me and this other guy, Richard, working. So it was crazy. Like these guys had cased us before, and I never remember seeing them. But they knew exactly what to do and who was there and like everything. And so they go in there. So the guy walks me to behind the counter with the shotgun on the back of my head and sawed off. And the other guy is like standing in front of the counter telling the cashier guy to give him all the money. So the guy puts me behind, and I'm just standing up watching the guy give him all the money from the register, and he tells him, "Where's the rest of them? Do you have any of them?" And the guy's like, "No, it's in the safe, and I don't have the combination. I can't get it. Like all the extra money, we put it in the safe, and I don't have the combination. Only the owner does." The guy like asked him like, "Where's the owner?" and this and that. And crazy thing that happened is earlier that day, the trash man that was picking up the trash, like the big container, when he lifted up his thing, like to, pick up that trash bin, he broke our phone line, like the actual phone line that was like went to from the building to the pole. He broke it with this trash thing, so we had no working phone. So the guy's like, "My phone's dead, like it doesn't work. I don't know what's going on." He didn't know that. So the phone was dead, and he tells the guy, and then so the guy's like, whatever, they just take the money what they had and just boom, took off. Like, it lasted like less than a minute probably. Like it was real fast. They didn't mess around. They got in and got out. So they leave, and the guy's like, "Man, I need to call the owner." So he's out. I gotta go to the across the street to the hotel across the street and call and use the phone, the pay phone, so I could call him and tell him. So he leaves, goes across the street to go make that phone call. And I look out the window and watch him, and he goes to the payphone. And I beeline it back to behind the counter because I knew that they kept all their extra 20s, 50s, hundreds, tens, fives underneath the, because he didn't have the combination to the lock, to the safe, under the bags, like the little brown bags. We had all these different size brown bags for whatever, beer, cans, whatever. So I knew they were there. And I go and I look, and they're all still there. All the extra tens, 20s, the overflow, 50s, hundreds. And what can I say, man? I was a kid. And I hung around with bad people at the time, so I had bad tendencies. I grabbed a stack of 20s and a stack of 10s. And somehow, morally, that I was thinking is I'm going to leave the hundreds because, like, I don't need thousands of dollars. And there was probably thousands of dollars with that stack of hundreds. And I said, I'm not going to be greedy. I'm only going to take the 20s and the 10s. So I took the 20s and the 10s. And don't judge me, people. Don't judge me. I was young. And I think I paid my debt to society. But anyways, so the guy comes back, and then the owner comes, the police come. He had to call the police also. He called the police and he called the owner, and then everybody comes. And this is way before cell phones, and I'm 15, 16 years old. And normally I'm home by like 10:30. I ride my bike. I would ride my BMX bike from there, and it would take me, I'd take like half an hour to get there. I'd stop at the Tasty Freeze and get an ice cream or something real quick. But anyways, yeah, I didn't leave there till like 11:30. I got home like at midnight, and so my mom, she was afraid, and I told her what happened because like there was no cell phone, so I didn't call her. She didn't know. She didn't know what to do. She was just waiting at home to see where the hell is my son, And I got home like at 12, and I told her we got robbed, And so she made me quit that job right away. So I had to quit that job. And so, the cops, during their little questioning thing, they asked the owners, like, well, do you record? You have cameras? Do you record? And then he's all like, yeah. And dude, my heart, like, fell out of my butt. My heart fell out of my butt, and it was on the floor because, like, I was like, oh shit, they're gonna see me on the cameras taking the money from underneath the bags. I was like, oh man, I'm so screwed. I'm fucked. And no, the guy said, the owner said, yeah, but my VHS tapes, they only go up to 8 hours. So, uh, when I leave, I put in a new tape when this new shift starts, but it's only 8 hours, and it's been 10. So the that part's not gonna show. It's not gonna be recorded. And then I was like, oh my lord, woo! And I had those 20s and 10s in my pocket. So like, so whatever. Now I remember that guy Richard, like, telling the owners, like, dude, I don't remember them ever looking in there. I don't remember. I swear I thought they never looked in there. And he's, oh man, it's okay. So I've been robbed before. Things happen that so fast you don't register it. You probably didn't even pay attention. You probably didn't even see. He probably had you looking somewhere else while the other guy took it. And the guy was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I got away with that, you know. And to be totally honest, I remember that was the first thing in my head is like, I'm gonna buy that Daryl Strawberry. That's all I wanted. I didn't want thousands of dollars to buy a Mickey Mantle. I just wanted $100 to buy my Daryl Strawberry. That was my Grail. That was my I gotta have it card. You know, so the next I waited for a week before spending any of my money. Like I just told my mom that the owner gave me the next paycheck when I quit. The next Friday, I just told her that the owner gave me a couple $100, because of what happened, just appreciation, like as a bonus or whatever I called it back then. So I was clear with those couple $100. My mom thought I got it from work, my last paycheck. So I said, I'm gonna go to this card show. You know, I want to go to this card show at the Eastland Center, the Eastland Mall back then, and I'm gonna buy that General Strawberry. So like another thing why this is like such a great day. I mean, first of all, I'm practically getting this money for free and buying my Grail card for free. Like at that time, that was like so awesome. It's not so awesome now that I'm older, but it was back then. And so I used to also collect bikes. My friend MacGyver, he taught he taught me, like, back then there was no kryptonites, there was no like locks. It was just master. The master locks were like that's what everybody used practically, especially with bike chains. Everybody had a master lock. Well, my friend, he was like one of the only white guys in my town, and he was a big thief, and he used to like to invent stuff and create stuff, and we nicknamed him MacGyver, so he was known as MacGyver. And he taught me this trick. He said it's not a trick, but a secret. I don't know what you would call it. But back then it was only like 10 or 12. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was either 10 or 12 master keys. So master locks, for every master lock that they made, there's only 10 or 12 keys. So every pallet he taught me that I go to home when we would go to Home Depot, and every pallet, I mean, which contained like 1,000 master locks. Every pallet, that whole pallet had used the same key for every lock. So he would teach me how to look at the serial numbers and see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 10 or 12, whatever it was. He's you just need to get all 12, 10 or 12, and any master lock key that you see, one of these keys is gonna open it because there's only 12 that exist in the world. So that's how I started obtaining my bikes. All right. So I went to the Eastland Center and I took the bus. And my whole goal was, well, after the show, after the card show, um, I'm gonna take a bike home. Because this was in a white neighborhood, and every time I would go to the Eastland Mall, the West Covina Mall, and the good neighborhoods, uh, a little bit better off people, they had good bikes outside. And so I go in there to the show, take the bus, go in there, and I find the 83 Top Strawberry. $80. No questions asked. Here, I got 80. And I remember that guy looking at me like, how do you have $80? Because I was a little Mexican kid, and yeah, they probably assumed my dad was mowing lawns. Yeah, I'm mowing your mom's lawn. And so I got the card. And you guys don't know how excited I was. I don't think you guys will ever understand, like, oh my God. Being poor, the $80 card seemed like I will never own it. I will never have this card. Never, never, never. And then, like, somehow this thing just happened where all of a sudden it was a possibility, and it was something I could never dream of, never imagine. I just thought it's never gonna happen, and I had the opportunity to buy it, man, and I was taking it. I wanted this card so bad, I was taking it, selling my soul to the devil practically at that time. So I bought the card, man, and I just remember being on cloud nine. I was in ecstasy. That was like the greatest feeling in the world. I'm telling you, I would never feel that again. Like how happy I was, how it was like a dream, something that I thought would never happen. You know what I mean? Really thought it was impossible for a little Mexican kid from the barrio with no money, could never afford an $80 card. And I got it. And it was my favorite player. That card, I mean, I will never replicate that feeling. I don't think you guys could understand like how ecstatic I was. It was a dream come true, a dream come true. Something that I thought would never happen was owning that 83 tops. They're all strawberry. Traded. And I got it. Achieved the dream. It was like, oh my God. It was crazy. That's why I say I chased a dragon now with cards, and I've come to realize I will never replicate that feeling. Not only that, so I always think about like how I got the money to buy it, which I'm not proud of, but that's a crazy story in itself. And then on my way out, I find an elf bike outside, locked up with the master lock. And I was like, what? An elf bike. Now, if you don't know what an elf bike, it's a BMX bike, and the elf brand stood for extra light frame. So it was an extra light frame, which was like the best bike there was at the time for racing, like racetrack racing. It was the lightest bike on the market. Before everything back then in BMX was chromoly, steel. They were making it with heavy material so they wouldn't break. And then this company just started making aluminum frames and called them extra light frames, ELF. So it was a racing bike. It had the skinniest little tires. Looked just like a BMX. Chrome, shiny as hell. The seat, everything. I remember how perfect it was. The handbrakes, it was like a brand new bike. And it had a racing plate on the handlebars. Had a racing plate that had the number 3. Pick number 3, my lord. It had the number 3. And how perfect the day was. How perfect. Perfect. All right. So a lot of times when I would take bikes from the mall, that's what I would do. I would take the bus there or take a shitty bike there and then get a new bike to take home. My parents were divorced and I was in high school, and I don't know how my mom never asked me, but I had a garage full of bikes. I used to collect bikes and I wanted a bike of every type. That was my goal, was to have a bike of every type. A 10-speed, a 12-speed, a mountain bike, a beach cruiser, a BMX bike, a racing bike, just every kind of type of bike imaginable. And I'll tell you this, with that money from the robbery, I bought a Le Mans, a 12-speed Le Mans. That was the only bike that I ever bought for my collection of bikes that I used to have. But I wanted a Team Murray. I wanted a Mongoose. I wanted a Diamondback, a GT, a Dyno, Redline. That was the way I collected bikes. And the only bike I ever bought was the Le Mans 12 speed. But anyways, I got that elf. And normally, like I said, you have 12 keys, and one of those keys is going to open that lock, guaranteed. And normally, it might be the 8th key, might be the 5th key that I try. And I always try them in order, key number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And that time, key number 1 opened it. You know how, like, that never happened before, never happened again. It's like that was the best day of my life. It was like that was the best day of my life. When I got on that bike, I'd always leave the chain there. And I don't know if that was an insult to people. I always left the chain and the bike and the lock unlocked. So I would just leave it there and take off on the bike. But that bike was so fast, so light. A bike that I thought I would never own. Because you don't see those bikes at the mall. You see them on racetracks and on top of cars, but you never see them in a rack at the mall. So it was like I never thought I'd have one. And everything that week came into play for me to get my dream bike, for me to get my Grail card. It was like perfect. Like I remember going to Home Depot with my homeboy. I don't think it was Home Depot back then. I think it was called Home Club or Home Base before before Home Depot. And so, like I said, every pallet had a different key in there for every lock. But every lock in the same pallet, every lock and key were the same. So to finish my collection that week, MacGyver, we went to a Home Depot, Home Base, Home Club, whatever it was, and climbed the racks. Like imagine at Home Depot, like the racks, how they go all high. We climbed the racks to go through every pallet to open one box up, and just take one key from there. And so we climbed the racks, and I remember that feeling. I remember that view. Imagine being at the top of the Home Depot, at the very top of a rack, and looking around, and you're on top of the world, and nobody's even seen you. Nobody ever looks up there. Nobody ever looks all the way up. And me and him were just like, standing on top of the world, looking around Home Depot from the top rack, just finishing our key collection to have every key for number 1 through 12, and just looking around, and just like, we're so smart. No one could even see us. You know what we just did? We just completed every key. Now any master lock that we see, we can open it. It's like the world is our oyster. You know what I mean? It was crazy. But being all the way on top and just being able to look around and see all the employees, see all the people buying shit, and nobody sees you, and you could just people watch. And we people watch for a good while from up there. Because I think we were both kind of scared about, like, hey, how are we going to get down? I think getting down is going to be a whole different story than climbing up. And it was, but we made it. But yeah, that's the story of me getting my Grail card, and why I don't think any other card I will ever get is going to match the euphoria that I had when I got my A3 tops. Everything in the world came together to make that happen. you know, it was a dream. And to me, it practically still is. Like everything went right for me. And I'm not very proud of the way it happened. But I'm not. And maybe I might be ashamed, but I don't regret it. I don't regret it. I'm not like that anymore. I don't steal. I don't approve of this stuff. But if at the time with the culture that I was in, my homeboys, my homies, my friends, where I was at in life, I don't know anybody besides older people. But of my friends, nobody would tell me that was a bad thing. It was. I'm drunk and I'm just talking too much, but I'm just trying to, tell you guys like how right that was at the time, and how there was no shame at the time, and that's why that card was never out. Chasing the dragon, you know. I learned that in baseball cards, Nothing's ever gonna beat that feeling I had when I bought that 83 tops. I'm chasing the dragon. I stopped chasing the dragon a long time ago. I know that I'm never gonna match that hobby high. That hobby high that I reached when I bought the 83 tops, I will never feel again. You know, and that was when I was like 15, 16 years old. But hey, I accept that. I know it. But I still get great pleasure from the hobby, man. But I just wanted to kind of explain how why that's my favorite card. Why that's, you know, every time I do a top list, top 25, it never changes number one. It's always that Daryl Strawberry, man. And like I said, it's that card. That is the card that I bought with that money. That is the card that was in my back pocket as I rode my brand new bike home. That was the card. So I could have another 83 Tops Daryl Strawberry, but it won't be that card. Never will be. That card is my grail. You know? So, anyways, love the hobby and just keep collecting baseball cards forever. I said, ciao. Hey, and so when I say I'm gonna get rid of this sofa right here. Let me see. I'm gonna get rid of that sofa and probably put some shelves against the wall instead of that sofa, man. Because I don't use that sofa, man. I got it for anybody ever sleeps over, and that rarely happens. But I'm gonna take them out. I'm gonna put all my baseball card uncut pages on the wall like wallpaper. I don't care if you don't like it. It's what I like. All right, but anyways, love the hobby and just keep collecting baseball cards forever. I said, ciao.